My brother.
All right, all right.
Man, what's going on with you, man?
I'm here for the Versus Challenge, baby. What's up?
Let's go, man. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Let's go.
Go hit for hit, baby.
Hey, man, I'm excited to have you on here tonight, my brother. I'm really excited. For those of you that's tuning in, this is Life After Sports podcast with Kevin Johnson. And the theme for tonight, is making Black Lives Matter. This involves knowing your history, enduring the present, and also preparing for the future. And there's no other guest that I have on here, and I'm excited to have my brother on here, Wes Saunders, for episode 14.
Yeah. Hey, man, appreciate you having me, Kev, man. You know, it was long overdue. You know, I had to come on here and holler at you for a little minute.
Man, I appreciate you, man. Look, man, everything, I feel like everything is destined, is all about timing and also about authenticity. I mean, in regards to this podcast, everybody I've had on here has been authentic about their true self. And man, I just really feel like it's a great space for you to even be on here, man. I appreciate you just taking the time out of your busy schedule just to come on here and just give us a little bit of insight of who you are, where you come from, your background. And I just appreciate you being on here tonight, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it too, dog. You know, it's time for us. It's our time. You know,
it's our time.
You know what I mean exactly when I say that. And the gloves are coming off. It's time for a lot more brothers to speak up about their personal experience, and sisters, of course. But the time is now, man.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And look, saying that the time is now, man, we're gonna dive right into this tonight, man.
What's up?
So,
what's up?
Man, let's talk a little bit about your upbringing. Give everybody a little bit of information about you as a person in regards to where you were born and raised as we start the show.
Okay, let me go ahead and take a little sip of my coffee for a minute. Let everybody go ahead and trickle on in. Welcome to the Dr. Kevin West show. You in for an experience tonight. You know, this is like no other. If you don't know who I am or what I'm about, you're going to find out tonight. Okay?
Hey, you're going to find out tonight on Life After Sports, man.
You're gonna learn
Life After Sports.
Well, let me get started by saying, first of all, you know, this ain't really Life After Sports. As Kev and a lot of people close to me know, I'm still on the verge of getting back into the National Football League. You know what I mean? This is that's still something that's on the agenda whenever we get back into it, of course.
Absolutely.
But a little bit about myself. I am originally from Gary, Indiana. You know, I was born there in 1989. I was back and forth early on between Gary, Indiana and Durham, North Carolina, where my mother and my father split custody of myself. So I got a little bit of that Midwest in me and a little bit of that Southern twang too, you know, the best of both worlds, I believe. Now, growing up playing, you know, basketball and football and things of that nature, you know, athletics came very easily to me because I was bigger than all the other kids, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, that was something dealing with that in the Confederate South. Being a big black kid, when you're 10 years old, they look at you like a man. You know what I mean? So I had to learn that quickly, and you know, some valuable lessons growing up in a place like North Carolina. They talk about Southern hospitality. Well, that's just white folks' way of being nice to you, even though they don't like you behind closed doors. That's Southern hospitality in a nutshell. So I experienced that in North Carolina as well, man. But yeah. Like I said, grew up in Gary, Indiana, between North Carolina, man. Tried to stay out of trouble, tried to do my thing, and you know, ended up at. You know, I don't know how far we want to go into my upbringing. I don't know what the next question is.
Yeah,
so
no, I got you. I don't
want to give them all. I don't want to give it all to them.
Don't give it not all at one time. But no, man. Let's talk about important of how understanding your history is such important, and I really feel that that's the reason why we really connect very well. In regards, because you understand who you are as a person, and you understand the history behind, you know, being a black man here, point blank in America, and who you are. You understand that. So just give us a little bit understanding of your history and regarding to, you know, your family, your background, and just talking about mom and dad and how they have all given and built into you the person that you are today, like how, the things that they have added to you as a person, and you taking that legacy on and building it for future generations.
Definitely, man. Well, first of all, we black. You know what I'm saying? My mama black, my daddy black, and you know that was something that they harnessed on me at an early age to be proud of who I am, what I look like, and everything that comes with it, especially my father. My father, a couple shades darker than you, kid. You know, he's super black. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes when it come like that, you know, you gotta really own your blackness, right?
You
You
do.
can't run from it, and that's something that was instilled in me at an early age, man. And I'm very thankful for it too, because right now, you know, I've always been the guy that's always been making comments about, you know, black man invented this, you know, black
Yeah.
man did that, you know, black man like that. I've always been that guy because it was instilled in me, almost to the point where my friends would kind of get annoyed by it. But now I realized that I don't have to tone down my blackness no more. I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do by being proud of my heritage and where we come from. You know, obviously, I have African roots, as most of us do, but I also have Native American roots. You know, once I started learning about African American history, I started realizing that a lot of the things we were being told in the history books were being fabricated to other people's liking. You know, for instance, only 6% of the African slave trade actually made its way to North America, which means a lot of us were already here. A lot of us were indigenous people to the North America and were inhabitants of this land already. Now, that's very significant when you're talking about slavery and all these people that, you know, go back to where you come from, because that's very
Hmm.
significant when you talk about the rights of people here in this country, as far as citizenship rights, as far as getting the same rights that the Native Americans get, as far as land ownership and things of that nature. So, you know, the idea that we all come from Africa is one that's kind of almost like a ploy to get us to not really realize that we're actually from this country and this continent. So it's
Yeah.
very important to know about your upbringing and where you come from, man, because it's a lot of heritage in that, a lot of culture, and a lot of things you can educate yourself on if you know
Yeah.
where you come from.
Absolutely, and I agree with that concept. You know, talking about that, what was the most valuable lesson that you've learned from your dad? Like, you know, and I'm pretty sure you have a wealth of knowledge from, you know, your dad and your mom. But what was it, something that sticks with you even to today? Uh, just that the most valuable lesson that you've learned from him. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, there's a lot of lessons you probably learned, but there got to be one or two that just sticks out.
Man, I'm telling you, boy, old Barry Saunders and taught me a little bit of everything, man. But let me tell you what, probably the first thing that he instilled in me was literacy, man. This is something, being able to read and comprehend words and on a page, man, it's invaluable. You know, obviously, he was one of the people that told me early on that was one of the things that they forbid slaves to do. They would kill a slave or anybody associated with a slave if you taught them how to read. There are numerous stories of white men and white people being killed for teaching black people how to read. Now, if you understand how powerful literacy is, and you'd understand exactly what they were trying to get at. They can cut a whole generation off from literacy, and it's one
Mm,
of the most important things to understand and comprehend. And because, you know, reading books allows your imagination to flow like nothing else, man. You know what I'm saying? Like television is actually giving you what to think, whereas a
yeah.
book is insisting what to think. But you know, your mind is really what controls everything. So, you know, books and literacy is probably the most important thing he taught me early on, along with, of course, manners and treating people right. Because, you know, it don't matter how many books you read, if you're an asshole to people, it ain't a good thing. You feel me?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've always heard and I don't want to say slogan because I don't really want to use it as a slogan, but I've heard it. You know, if you want to hide something from
How to come from a black person, put it in a book. That's what they tell you. Ain't that what they tell you? Come on now.
that's exactly.
That's some bullshit, man. All right, am I allowed to cuss on this? We on live, man.
Yeah,
Ain't
you
no
good,
matter.
man. You good. You
This our
good.
show. This is
You
our show
you
today. We're
go.
gonna get real. I see you, Chris. What up, Nuke? I see you out there. Yeah, I appreciate everybody coming on because, you know, I keep it real, man. That's some bullshit. You want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book. And right now, I am on a path. I hope with a lot of my other brothers to try to change that across the board, because I think if a lot more brothers understood their minds, how their mind works,
Yeah.
we'd be in a better off position, man. Especially the way the school system's set up today. But that's a whole nother subject.
Yeah. We could talk about that in a in a whole nother series.
Right.
But talking about that, man, when did you fall in love with sports, and when did you initiate this? You know, when did sports, you know, become a part of your life? You know, in regards, I know you mentioned basketball was obviously something you was interested in as well.
Oh man, sports is one of those things early on. Everybody's into sports, man. You know, it's just one of those things all the kids do. You just running around getting rid of energy. Now, of course, me being bigger than all the other kids, I realized certain sports were easier to me than others. And I
Yeah.
realized people treat you different when you're good at sports. And so earlier, it don't take long to understand that dynamic of positive reinforcement. Like, oh, if I catch this ball or shoot this ball good enough, Everybody's gonna love me. Everybody
Hmm.
applauds me. I can even get away with stuff if I do this good enough. And you know, that
Yeah.
was one of those aha moments where you know I played soccer early on because I was too big to play with kids my age, so I was forced to play other sports. I did gymnastics for a while, which was wonderful because I loved flipping and tumbling. So you know, being able, I think my dad was one of those, and my parents were one of those kind of people who just let me explore myself, man. Let me find out who I am. You know, that's
Yeah.
what I think a lot of school systems need to do now. Let children find out who they are instead of trying to tell them early on exactly who they are.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, when you when when you come when you come into a system where they're telling you who you are, it's more of a dictatorship,
Yeah,
you know.
definitely.
And instead of letting the mind and letting you evolve, and based on the knowledge of you evolving and the people that are in your village that are are adding value to your life, then you can be able to have a little bit of ownership of who you are and walk into your calling. But when you're in a dictatorship, which is what I mean, what we in, especially with the education system here, we're just telling you exactly what you need, but this is not the necessity things that you
Come
need to
on now.
survive in the world
Come
today.
on now. Come on now. That's where we at right now. That's why we're gonna have the Saunders School. Just you know, talking about it right now. The Saunders Enterprises, man. I'm starting schools all over the globe because this is something that is inherently needed in the community. It's needed everywhere because obviously the current school structure was set up by a group of people who didn't have our best interests at heart, who didn't
Yeah,
have our heritage at heart, and that knew exactly how important it was. Because even in places like South Africa, you think about South Africa, they were forbidden to teach the South African language and South African culture in South Africa, right? So like
that's crazy.
that's colonialism at its best, man, and that's something that you know I'm totally against, especially when I know how powerful it is to know exactly who you are, to know yourself. So you know that's something that I strive for and I push for 100% every day, all day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that being said, man, give us a little information about your, your high school career, and then what that transition was into college and choosing choosing the college that you wanted to go to. Let's talk about that.
Well, you know, it was kind of it was fun, man. Coming out of high school, of course, everybody wants you. Everybody, you the hot ticket, you the hot date in town, man. But it's for a 17-year-old to be going through that with grown people, you know, coming along and telling you, feeding you dreams. You know, Penn State, Florida State, UCLA, man, all these wonderful schools, telling me everything I wanted to hear, man. I'm so glad and thankful that I had a supporting cast telling me what not to do, what not to fall for. You know, especially when a lot
Yeah.
of these college coaches and recruiters usually attack, you know, single parent black households. You know what I'm saying? Usually it's the mama in the picture with no other male figure around to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
So that a lot of times can cause some hasty decisions that might not be all the way thought through. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those situations where I had a solid team in place to vet these schools, vet the coaches, sitting right in my living room. So you know, it was one of those decisions. I came down to North Carolina and South Carolina. I decided to attend South Carolina because, like I said, Durham, North Carolina, that was very close to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Still got love for the Tar Heels. Too close to home, way too close to home. Had to get away from my father. My father, who is a columnist for the Raleigh News and Observer, or was a columnist. You know, he's very controversial to say the least. So me sticking around there in an area where you know he could be potentially writing about the team I'm playing for, you know, conflict of interest. So I
Yeah.
took it on up I-85 South and attended the University of South Carolina where I could play in the SEC and do a little something something.
Well, I mean, talking about that, man, what obstacles did you face while you were in college? For athletes, there's so many things, there's so many, huh?
I said, where do we start?
Well, look, man, I just want you to go ahead and be authentic and that's who you are anyway. But I mean, a lot of athletes, before they even get to college, they really, it's a rude awakening. They don't have no clue what they're stepping into. It's new grounds, new rules, and as we see it right now, they're making new rules for college sports right now. You got a lot of
Yeah,
schools that are cutting programs. You got now in the NCAA, they're trying to make sure players get some type of compensation for their likeness and all this stuff, but they never went into detail about it, and it's still up in the air. It's an
right.
NCAA thing. It's up in the air. They don't really know in regards to how they're maneuvering with it. But talking about that, what obstacles have you faced while you were in college?
man, first, obstacles upon obstacles, man. First you get there and it's, it's a business. It's a corporation just like anything else. And me at 31 can say this easily, but
Yeah.
18-year-old Wes didn't understand the corporation of what is we know as college football. So of course you get there and you're just thinking it's football as you've always known it, but you realize it's a very strict business-like schedule. Okay, so you got
Yeah.
certain rules you got to follow. You don't get no money. They're paying you, of course, in your education, as they say, which obviously ain't nobody gonna see this education money till we're graduated or till we get a job down the line. So that's not doing any good right then. So we were getting about $40 a week for weekend money, and of course that ain't even enough. That wasn't even enough to fill the tank. So there were a lot of guys who were going hungry, because you might miss a meal or you might miss a class, and you be deducted $20, and you have $20 for the week. And and it was one of those things where there was a lot of guys coming from impoverished areas, right? So
Yeah.
they were doing what they could, and they would get certain grants and certain stipends from the government for as far as grants and loans or whatever. And of course, my parents were in this area where my dad made too much money, so couldn't get the grants. But my dad cheap as hell, so I won't get no money. You know what I'm saying? So like it won't like I was getting the money he was getting. So I was
Yeah.
broke. You know what I'm saying? I was driving an old car. My car would break down. All these issues, man. And I would, of course, after the second year, I started to realize exactly how much money was being brought in. Like the SEC, boy, it's a lot of money. 90,000 in a stadium, and man, let's say maybe $30 a ticket, just being generous, right? And that's every Saturday. I'm like, man, that's a lot of money being funneled, and I ain't got none, right? And it
Zero.
was just broke. It was a morality issue. Once my moral compass started getting tugged, that's when I was like, man, this is some bullshit. So I took it upon myself. I saw what was going on behind closed doors. The best players get favoritism, right? They get a little shake at the end for being a good player, and they get taken care of. So the idea is for you to be one of those good players who get looked upon favorably and get those handshakes. So everybody knows what's going on. Obviously, unfortunately for me, the Reggie Bush scandal hit right around my time in college, and I was one of those people who, the NCAA was coming. They was looking for blood, and I was one of the ones they found. Man, me and the boys in the University of North Carolina, man, it was hectic as far as the NCAA cracking down on people accepting money from whoever, right? Whoever wanted to give you some bread because you were a good player, and they keep all the receipts, man. And it was just it was like the FBI, dog. It was probably worse.
I mean, when that happened, man, what was going through your mind at that particular time? Like, man, like I don't know what's about to happen. Like, what were you thinking? Like, I mean, in regards to, they're doing the investigation.
Well, prior to the investigation, I was planning on going first round. Like all the magazines was telling me, Wes Saunders was #1 tight end. He about to go first round, and it was going to be all good. And that came crashing to an abrupt halt. And I realized how serious it was when the NCAA came to town. And, I was in school and the season was about to start and all this stuff. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal until they got there and they told us, like they came with some heavy hitters. And I don't know if when the NCAA comes and investigates a player at a school, they investigate the whole athletic department. So they came all the sports. So you can imagine how the athletic department was looking at me for bringing all this unwanted attention. Wow. And, it was just kind of one of those situations where I kind of dug myself in a hole that I couldn't get out of. And, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't the easiest teammate to deal with. Once I realized how good I was, I thought that I was supposed to be cocky. I thought I was supposed to be arrogant. I thought I was supposed to be the man. And most of the time that works out if you're the star athlete and something.
Correct.
But this is one of those situations where I became the scapegoat all by myself. I pretty much burned some bridges to the point where nobody wanted to help me. And when it was time to help me, there wasn't nobody there except me, myself, and I, and the people that I had in my corner. So the university thought it best to suspend me indefinitely for the remainder of the season and no more college football for me. So I ended up missing the whole season. Now, if you remember, that was the year Cam Newton came to Auburn, and he did his thing. So we had my team had the opportunity to play against Cam twice, and I was sitting on the sideline. I couldn't play at all, man. So it was one of those things that, hey, man, for a 21-year-old kid, like, all I did was accept some stuff people gave to me. I ain't hurt nobody. I didn't, I was looking at it like that. But that's, that was a reality check. Like, oh, okay, this is how real life works. It can happen just that abruptly.
Right, that quick.
Right, and me feeling sorry for myself. I ain't gonna lie. I was in a I was in a mode where I was feeling sorry for myself. Flea, what up? My boy Flea just hopped on. Flea was there. Flea will tell you, man, down in Columbia, South Carolina, it was a big deal at the time as far as all the investigation and how much trouble, how many guys were getting in. I brought heat to the program. Other guys getting investigated. It was pretty intense. And I got real down on myself. But I was actually around the same time where a teammate of mine, Kenny McKinley, committed suicide. And,
Wow.
he was in the NFL already. And, for him to have done that to himself, I kind of had to take a step back. Like, man, what was he going through
Yeah.
mentally to want to take that step, right? Because I can understand, like, being in a down place. I was right there, but I was like, dang, am I that down, right? So I had to kind of reel it back in, and that was a huge reality check, man. I really had to realize football wasn't everything. I had to eat a slice of humble pie. Just imagine me
Yeah.
I was on campus the whole time, in class, everything, so just the season is going on right past me. My season is passing me by, and I'm sitting right there, having to soak it all in and eat it pretty much. So,
Yeah.
it made a man out of me real quick.
Yeah. And you know what? And I was talking about this on my podcast yesterday, man. And it's so true. It is so true, Wes, that you can have we learn more from our mistakes more than the degrees
Yeah,
or anything else. We
yeah.
learn more about ourselves through our mistakes. And the
Talk about
fact
it,
that
man.
you're a
Talk about it.
huh, huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Talk about it. I'm with you.
Oh, yeah, we learn more from our mistakes. And I'm saying that because every time that I've been in a situation where it didn't go the way that I planned, or something end up happening where I got terminated, or that, I'm coaching and this job didn't work, it happened for a particular reason. And it's like, it just throw you like a humble pie. And now you have to sit down and just have a self-assess with yourself. Like,
Well,
okay,
you got to talk to God. That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
God
yeah,
shows
yeah,
his face. I talk
yeah,
about it all the time, man. If you can't see it on my chest, it's in Arabic. It says, "Without pain, there is no life." Right. So,
yeah,
like the struggle, man, it's almost like uh, you have to have that in order to make it to the next level. And it's going to be a time when you thought it's not going to be what you wanted, not going to be what you thought you wanted, but it's going to be something that is ultimately better for you in the end. So,
yeah,
yeah, man. It's easy to say, that's why
yeah,
I focus on emotional discipline, and I do counseling and coaching, man, because those are those moments where, like, it's easy for everybody to be like, oh, you'll get past it, you get over it. But when you're going through it, when you're the
yeah.
only one, and
Going
it's
through
just
that moment.
right, and you feel like your walls closing in on you, and everything that could go wrong will go wrong, right?
Yeah,
And that's what faith is all about. That's what's going
yeah,
to test you to see exactly what you made of.
yeah.
Invictus, like you
Well,
say, Chris. Yeah, man. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole.
well, look, man, with all that being said, man, and those experiences that you went through during college, let's talk a little bit. And I just want you to know that with this conversation we're talking pre-career. We're going to go a little bit about in career in NFL, and then talk about post career. And I say post career because of the things that you're doing now outside of the league. Doesn't mean that you get a phone call tomorrow. I already know I already know you're suiting up.
Ready to
But
go, baby.
just
I'm
talking,
ready.
yeah, I already know. But just talking about that, let's talk about your draft experience in the NFL and how that all came about, and knowing the history of what happened while you was at USC. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh well, the fun didn't stop once I got suspended my senior year. It was the fun wasn't over there, and I thought the worst was behind me. So January came, season was over, and I decided to go to the NFL instead of applying for reinstatement to college. Now I was like, fuck college, I'm out of here. Let's go to the league, see what I can do. You know what I'm saying? At least make some money off myself, right? So at that time, Nike thought I was still a pretty big deal. So, I hadn't gotten hurt during the season. So, my draft stock was still pretty high. So Nike paid for me to train down in Dallas at the Michael Johnson Performance Center. Shout out to MJP down in Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was down there for a few months, about to train, man, the top-notch training facility, because, I was about to go kill the combine, right? The NFL combine was the next thing. I just missed the season, so I need to go show off at this combine and get right.
Absolutely.
A week into me training down in Dallas, I broke my foot. Yeah, so I'm down there training. Michael Irvin is showing me a couple moves, and I plant the wrong way. Something wacky happened, and I break my foot, my first, major injury ever. And I go to the doctor. The doctor told me it's fully broken. I'm probably going to need surgery for it with the NFL Combine less than a month away. So I just missed a whole year. And then, of course, a month into me training, I break my foot. And, of course, it's too soon to get surgery. So I decide I got to do something at the combine. So, you know, I'm going to go with a broke foot. We're going to train this broke foot. We're going to get a little shot in that thing. We're going to try to roll with it, right? You know, and I actually attended the NFL combine with a broke foot and ended
Are
up
you
doing what I
serious?
could. I went there with a broke foot. I acted like it wasn't broke. You know, I went there and it acted like it was normal. Of course, now 20 different teams wanted to do x-rays on my feet and my ankle.
Yeah.
And so day 2 came and they're like, hey, man, you got a broke foot. I'm like, what? It's broke? And so, I tried to go on it anyway, man, and it got to the point where the pain was unbearable. I couldn't even breathe. It was hurting so bad, man.
Wow.
So that was the end of that. That was the end of my combine experience. So, of course, I could look in the crowd. You could hear it over the loudspeaker when the guy announced that I wouldn't be participating in any more drills, right? Because Wes Saunders is done for the day. Foot is broken. He would not be participating in any more drills. You could literally see coaches in the stands like Xing my name out. Like, this guy, he done got in trouble and he hurt too. He's a double negative. So that was another humbling experience sitting in Lucas Oil Stadium trying to put ice on my foot real quick, man. It was you talk, if I ain't have faith then,
Yeah.
it was coming up out of me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about the faith, and I respect that a lot, because without faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
You know, so the fact that you were hurt already and you were still going through the motion just because you seen the target, you seen the goal, and you were still adamant about it. I mean, I tip my hat off to you just because of that.
Appreciate
And so talk about after that experience, in you playing for Pittsburgh. Talk about that.
Well, I like that segue. I like you going right into it because, I can kind of almost trace the steps where my faith was being tested, because here's another opportunity for me to get down on myself. I went to the combine, shit it up, didn't do nothing. And then here comes the NFL draft, where I was expected to go anywhere between the 2nd and 4th round. NFL draft comes and goes, and I don't get drafted. Actually the worst possible thing that you can imagine happens, me not getting drafted. Nobody saw that coming. I mean, a few people saw 5th round, 6th round. Nobody saw it drafted. So that happening, and then me having to swallow that. I had a party at my boy house. My homeboy and his parents threw a big draft party for me in North Carolina because everybody came through. They had bets on what team I was going to go to, because it was pretty much assumed that I was going to go somewhere. For that to happen and me not to go nowhere, that was another gut wrencher. So you can just imagine it's just like just a hit after hit after hit, and I'm already walking around with a broke foot and not getting drafted. But this is what I talk about faith, man. This is 2011, and for whatever reason, it was an NFL lockout, and NFL just shut down after the draft. Just no more NFL. So I go back. I obviously have surgery on my foot, let my foot heal up. I get a job at the University of North Carolina Neuroscience Hospital. JG Gamble, what up, baby? I see you, Bull City, in the building. But so I actually got a job at the University of North Carolina Neuroscience Center, and I was there for a couple months. So you can imagine during the NFL lockout, I had time to let my foot heal. 3 months exact. So here comes July 26th. The NFL lockout ends. This is about a 3-month period where this screw in my foot has had a little bit of time to heal, and the NFL is calling free agents who didn't get drafted to come to certain camps. And one of the first calls I get is from the Baltimore Ravens, and the second call I get is from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I ended up talking to Coach Tomlin, who's a new Kappa Alpha Psi, and he brought me to Pittsburgh, man, and the rest is history. I went up there and did my thing within 16 days of the NFL lockout being over with, man. But I needed all them damn days for my foot to heal up. I just needed to know that. Like, had it not been for the NFL lockout, I probably wouldn't have gotten to the actual field.
Yeah. Look, man, I also, like you said, you believe in faith. I believe in God, man, and things happen for a reason. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So talking about all that, man.
I said all the time, man. That's exactly how it's supposed to.
Yeah. So talking about that, man, what lessons did you learn while playing in the league, with your year playing with Pittsburgh? What was the lessons that you just learned? I mean, for a lot of players, it's new. The business is new. Understanding what they're asking and what's needed in the NFL is new. What lessons did you learn while playing?
Man, I learned that it's a business. Everything is a business. And NFL is one of the biggest businesses on earth. So you go into it with your feelings and you go into it with emotions, you are bound to get hurt. You got to go in there with an objective mind, understanding that some of these people that's going on, behind these walls don't have your best interests at
Yeah.
heart. And
Yeah.
that's kind of a hard pill to swallow for a young kid coming in thinking that everybody loves you. You've been the guy that's been loved all your career. Ever since Pop Warner, everybody's loved you. And so you get to the NFL and you might run into a coach who don't like you, a special team coach who's a little bit too hard on you and say the wrong thing and, talk about your mama and some, just they get on you.
Wow.
These coaches especially, they going through problems at the crib too. These are not trained therapists or trained, people pleasers, right? So these guys bring their own issues to the table. And I've seen it affect a lot of guys. And, that's probably one of the main things I say, coming to this thing knowing who you are. I came in trying to kind of be like everybody else and doing what everybody else did, and I got in trouble. I got caught doing the wrong stuff. I'm here, in Miami partying it up, drinking and, doing illicit drugs and things that I'm not supposed to get involved in, trying to keep up with people, and I ended up biting me in the ass, and I got suspended twice. So it was one of those things where I couldn't get out of my own way for a little while, and I ain't had nobody to blame but myself.
Yeah. Well, talking about that, man, I always say this. It's so hard when you go through something to self-assess, and that's the biggest pill. Like the biggest pill to swallow is like understanding, okay, this is what I did, this is what I need to do to move forward, and I need to really figure this out. And I don't know if you know, but the motto for our show is when one career ends, another career has a whole new set of opportunities, and that's just in general. But I think the hardest thing for people to do when they're going through something is to self-assess. Self-assess who I am.
Honestly,
and,
though, it's okay to see people self-assess all the time, but everybody ain't honest. It's a hard thing to be 100% brutally honest and accountable with yourself, because everybody try to be as nice to yourself as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of people, they got friends around them who'll help them feel better about a situation where they were totally wrong, but they'll have a yes man beside them to reinforce that they were right, or that they were justified in something that they did. And that's a problem right there. A lot of people can't even go against the grain of their own family or their own significant other about like what's right or what's wrong. You can see, you see it right now. So a lot of people have justifications about validations about the Black Lives Matter movement or
Absolutely.
black on black crime or whatever. You got split households right now simply off the premise of morality, of what's right and what's wrong.
What's wrong? Yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that. Absolutely right about that. Going into our next question, what lessons did you learn while playing in the league?
What lessons did I learn while playing in the league, other than it was a business? I learned how to take care of my body better. I learned how to eat better, man. You know what I'm saying? Your body is the most complex machine on the face of the earth. So I'm a junk eater, man. I was a little over 300 pounds. I was eating everything, drinking everything, man. And that wasn't doing nothing for my psyche, wasn't doing anything for my skin. I had bad acne, just a lot of things going on, man. So the league taught me how to take care of myself, how to be an adult. In situations where I saw a lot of people still being kids, a lot of grown men not being able to speak for themselves, letting other people handle their money because they had no financial literacy. So it was one of those things where I had to force myself to be smarter, force myself to be better, because I made the wrong decisions. I lost. I made some investments and lost. I realized a lot of people coming in just for the bread. So it was one of those things where you learn these lessons on the go. I'm 31 right now, but I'm talking like I'm an old man, you know what I'm saying? Because I learned these lessons in a short amount of time. Like, wow, this is what we're doing? So being able to self-assess and to stop the action is major, because a lot of people self-assess and it takes them 10, 15 years to realize what they were doing wrong. And then that's when they end up single. Your wife left you, your husband left you because you're not listening, obviously. Communication skills. So it's one of those things where I had to make abrupt changes, right? Because if a coach tell you you're doing something, especially in the NFL, if a coach tell you you're doing something wrong on Tuesday and you still doing that same thing wrong next Tuesday, the following Tuesday you might not have a job.
Right? Yeah, you out.
This is one of those things where self-assessment comes immediately, and it has to happen fast, right? Or else you ain't gonna have no job. So
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right about that. Talking about your time in the NFL, what was one thing, one highlight um, of your career while playing? Every player has that one play or that one possession where they just went ahead and they that one game that they just went ahead and just balled out, man. Tell me what that one highlight is. I know you got them, Wes.
well, I mean, of course, that my one is it would have to be my first touchdown in Kansas City, man. Sunday night football with the Steelers, and we were playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, man. It was a pretty big deal, especially guys in the league know that Sunday night game. That's like they call that the live on Sunday game. That's the game.
Prime time, prime time.
Prime time. Everybody gonna see you. So if you do something good, maybe when you get down to Miami and you go to live, they'll let you in without no hassle. To everybody else. Now, it was as stupid as it sounds, like they was actually talking about this for a 22-year-old. Hey, I was like, yeah, I want to shoot. I had been to live and not got in before, so it was something for me. So, but yeah, and of course, it was one of those, you couldn't write the story no better. I was chilling with my boy Antonio Brown the night before, and Antonio, his people is from Kansas City, or lived in Kansas City rather. So we rolled out, and I'm riding, hit with Antonio's dad, and Naima, what up, girl? See, what up, girl? So I'm riding with Antonio and his dad, and we go get some barbecue, and we me and Antonio actually have an autograph signing in Kansas City at a Pittsburgh Steelers bar.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, we go to this autograph signing, and I'm excited. The Steelers, the game the next day, and everybody there excited, and all these fans lined up to get our autograph, man, and they coming up, me and Antonio, and then one kid comes up and he gives me his shirt, and he kind of takes it back and was like, "Who are you again?" I'm like, well, I'm Wesley Saunders. He was like, have you scored a touchdown yet? I was like, no, I ain't scored yet. I'm like, I don't know who you are yet. You ain't scored yet. And he literally walks off and takes his shirt and doesn't want me to sign it. So
wow.
That was a humbling experience right then. I'm like, dang, these kids is ruthless out here.
They ruthless.
Right. So, but of course, the next day, here comes prime time, and on a play that I've never gotten before. And Big Ben finds me in the end zone, man, and I scored my first touchdown on Sunday Night Football. But the first person, I ain't think of my mama, I ain't think of my daddy. The kid was the first person I thought of when I caught that ball. I'm like, where that damn kid at? I scored now. What you think of me now, kid?
Hey, man, people don't understand these fans can be ruthless, man. They're really ruthless, for real.
Yeah, the game is not the same without the fans. I tell you that much. They will do something to you, especially kids. Kids will make you real humble real quick. You be like, man, somebody get these little kids out of here.
Look, with you saying that, the fan without the fans is definitely different, man. How do you feel with the NFL moving forward, and the possibility that it may not be no fans in the stands?
That's gonna be different. I don't think guys are gonna want to play like that. Not playing with no fans in the crowd, man. That adrenaline factor. Adrenaline is something that you really can't come up with on your own, right?
Correct.
So you can feel the energy in the stadium. You can feel the energy everywhere, man. So trying to play a game without no fans in the stands, man, especially something like football, that's gonna be tough. So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
yeah.
My last question in regards to in career is talking about, what obstacles did you face in your career, and what did you learn about yourself? Like we've talked already about here, like through the different adversity that you face and the obstacles that you've learned more about yourself every time. If you could be able to pinpoint one obstacle that you faced and what you learned about yourself, what would that be?
Let me get comfortable right here. We good? Everybody good? Y'all can see me? The thing I learned about myself, man, is that there is nothing on this earth that I can't handle. You know what I mean? So, like, everything that I've dealt with where I thought my life was over, I thought everything was crashing down, I was able to handle it in a way where I benefited on the back end. And I was able to learn a lesson from it, because if you go through some stuff and you don't learn no lesson from it, then you went through it for no reason. And chances are the good Lord is going to make you go through it again. So I learned that very it's a lesson to be learned, and you better go ahead and learn that lesson so you can move on to the next step. There's always steps you're going to have to face in life, especially when it comes to your faith being tested. So, I actually got stronger the more I got hit, if that makes sense. The more I got beat on, the stronger I got. I started noticing signs. Nothing happens on accident, so I started following everything that was happening as a sign, and trusting my intuition and my gut, right? So it was one of those things where um, even me getting in trouble was kind of the best thing for me, because I thought my life was over, and it was something that I had to do some introspection. I changed my life. I changed my eating habits, went vegan for a year, started understanding what I was putting in my body. In turn, I was able to help teach my family, teach my mama and them about what they was eating, you know what I'm saying, help
Yeah.
the longevity, pay each one, teach one. So it's one of those things where the things I went through, and of course being able to talk to these kids, these youngsters, man, they listen to you, boy. So that's
They
what it's
really do.
about.
Really do. And talking about the youngsters, man, I love the work. I love the work that you're doing within the community.
Thank you,
Your philanthropy is impeccable, and I definitely, trust me. I watch your IG. I watch the stuff that you do. I've known you for a long time, so the stuff that you're doing in the community, man, I really appreciate that, and I really it's an honor to know you, because I know the work that you do, and I know the impact that you have on these young kids' lives.
super
Going
important.
into our next, sorry about that. What you said?
No, I'm saying it's super important, man. The youth. That's where it's going. That's where it's going to start. Media, what up, girl? I see you, baby. But yeah, that's where it's going to start, man. That's something I'm very adamant about, because I understand that, even studies show that especially young black kids between the ages of 3 and 8, uh, that's where a lot of their learning curves happen, right? And then they get, they're brilliant up until then, and then something kind of happens where they fizzle off, or actually regress and get worse. So Gary, Indiana, what up? Yeah, with GI in the building, 219 already. But yeah, so that's one of those things where we really got to focus on, especially the kids. We can't let them fall by the wayside, because this
Yeah.
next generation coming up gonna be the ones that save us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, talking about post career, and like I said, post career is just the general of what of the segment of the show. What areas were you interested in, or are you still interested in while in your career? What were some things that you're like, look, that's something I'm gonna do regardless, because I'm interested in that particular hobby, or particular giving back, or whatever that interest is may be to you.
Oh, well, giving back is something I've always done, man. My dad kind of did that when I was early on, when he would take 100 Black Men of America. We would take little kids out shopping and stuff. And I'm a selfish little kid. I'm like, why are we taking these little poor black kids, white kids, why are we taking these little kids out shopping and stuff? Like, I want to go shopping, but then we would pick them up from real impoverished areas, duplexes with dirt roads, and they were just in a lot worse situation than myself. So it taught me to be humble and grateful at an early age. So me giving back to the community and giving back to the kids, it's not work. It's because you really supposed to do this stuff. To tattle my arm, Luke 12:48, to whomsoever much has been given, of him shall much be required. So I've been blessed with a lot of stuff, and I was real selfish early on in my life, in my career, and it didn't benefit me at all. And so I'm like, that's not real power. That's not really what it's about. So if you really got some power and some influence to you, then you can help people get better. You help him. If everybody get better around you, then that's when you're a powerful son of a gun. And so I used to be the detriment. I used to be the cancer on the team, as far as being selfish and wanting to be all about me and getting down on other players when they weren't excelling like I was. Well, that was detrimental. Once I realized how to be a team player and how to adhere to other guys' strengths, man, we went to the state championship in high school and college. We started winning. I started to notice the difference of that energy, right? So, as far as even being philanthropic, that energy, I need that all the time. I'm gonna need to give myself in some kind of way to other people in order for me to feel better. Like, you can call that selfish or call it whatever you want, but I understand the dynamic of helping somebody else, especially when they don't even know they need to be helped. Those are the ones, especially these knuckleheads, especially in the street. A lot of guys end up listening to me because I talk about me getting suspended. People listen to that. What you get suspended for? You got suspended twice?
Yeah.
Then that happened, and then this happened, right? And then so they want to know about the hits and how did I bounce back. Rather,
Yeah.
some people, I ain't no offense to Tim Tebow, but I ain't no Tim Tebow. I've gotten in some
Yeah.
issues publicly where I've had my reputation has been at stake, and so me being embarrassed publicly, I don't really care about being embarrassed. Like, that don't move me. A lot of people don't. A lot of people actually are stifled by their fear of being embarrassed about
Yeah.
in front of a bunch of people who don't care nothing about them, right? Ain't nobody thinking
Correct.
about, but so you'll actually limit yourself just by the thoughts and the fear of other people watching you or going to laugh at you or whatever. So, that's what I try to get people out of.
But look, and that takes right there. That's maturity, and that's a vulnerable statement that you just said. Being able to use the mistakes and things that you've done in your past to be able to influence and be able to help others to understand that, hey, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes in life. It's how you bounce back.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important because we live in a world, Wes, we live in a world where you go to people's Instagram, everything's perfect. Life is great. They're on Instagram and look like they got $1 million every day. They're waking up and they're like, yeah, I'm great. I'm the SIHIT.
Sugar honey iced tea. Yeah.
and really that's not what it's all about. It's about showing perseverance, showing passion, showing persistence and perseverance.
Come on, man.
And
We live in Miami. I love talking about it in Miami because this is the cap flake city, capital of the world. Man, everybody come here and try to stunt, and they rent cars and rent boats and live beyond their means and try to keep up. Only place I know worse than this is Los Angeles. But here, I love to sit back. I'm a people watcher. I enjoy people watching. I enjoy watching people make a fool of themselves by trying to be something they're not. You can spot disingenuous people from a mile away. Everybody trying to be like one another, man. So it's pretty funny to watch, but of course at the same time it's sad because you want to stop this cycle at some point. You want to get the kids off this train of it's cool to be stupid, it's cool to be ignorant, it's cool to be disrespectful. We got to get them off that train, and Instagram, unfortunately, and TikTok is actually adding to the bad stuff, right?
Correct. Talking about that, man, I would love to hear you talk about your transition into CEO of Win with Wes Enterprise. And just tell us about that journey, man. Tell us about your enterprise and the things that you're looking to do.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, Win with Wes started when I was, of course, in college, going back to the schools and talking to the kids and getting everybody to understand exactly what I was about, man, because once I started understanding emotional intelligence, emotional discipline, things that were going to come at you on a daily basis, I was like, oh, so you can be a really good guy on Tuesday and something can happen to you on Wednesday and you can be an asshole to somebody and that's going to change everybody's perception of you. Whoever you might have affected on that Wednesday, they're going to go forward believing that you are an asshole because of how you acted in that moment of anger, right? So it was one of those things where I like to preach, be slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen, right? So so you don't act hastily because I'm sure I've rubbed some people the wrong way back in my earlier days because I let my tongue get the best of me. I said some stuff where I wish I could have taken it back, and I probably would have been in a lot less trouble if I'd have just taken a moment and breathed and thought it through. So when I talk about Win with Wes, it's a concept where we can win at everything. You talk to people about being mentally prepared for whatever it is that they face every single day. As soon as you wake up in the morning, even right before you grab that phone, you better get your mind right because whatever you see, you might wake up to a text from the boss, a text from your girl that might have said some old crazy stuff that got you mad. You got to be mentally ready for whatever's going to come your way. Because if you're already in a sleep, I love the phrase when people are like, oh, he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. No, he didn't. He probably went to sleep on the wrong side of the bed and woke up like that. Right? So you carried that on with you from yesterday.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. And that's one of the, that's projection. I see that happen all the time. It happens with people's parents. You run into somebody who's in a bad mood and now you in a bad mood because they're in a bad mood, and it's one of those things. It's a trickle down effect. So, Win with Wes is just a concept of getting people to win at everything they do, whether it be relaxing, whether it be your job that day, whether it be the exercise, a workout routine, or regimen. We can win at everything because you're gonna get tested mentally at some point with whatever it is that you're trying to win at. So,
absolutely. With that being said, man, talk to me about, and like I said, this theme is we're talking about making Black Lives Matter. So let's talk about what is your take on the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, it's something needed to be done, and I do believe, as far as that, at least it got the word black in it. That's all I'm saying. At least it's an issue that got the word black in it, and it's concerned with black folks. I can't say that I'm 100% down with all the messaging behind it because it's just a lot of fluff. If you really want to be now, there is another organization called the NFAC out of Georgia who represent a brand and style that I am familiar with and that I enjoy. Their ideals mixed with the Black Lives Matter, I think, can be something revolutionary. We're being heard in places that we haven't been heard before. All the black folks who have, been ignored in HR, for everybody who's been told that they were overreacting for some racist at work, this is the time. This is the time when we come and we voice our opinion in an intelligent way and at least have some tangible ideas about what we want going forward. So
Yeah.
I think Black Lives Matter has brought that to the forefront. So now whatever your personal belief is, you can bring that, especially if you're black, we can bring our interests together so we can get some stuff done, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Talking about sports, because that's the background that we both are in. How do you feel about the 5-star college athlete changing their recruiting process to decide that they're going to HBCU?
I love it.
You know who I'm talking about? Makers.
Yeah,
Going to Howard.
Maker. Yeah, man, going to Howard. That's huge, because I remember me wanting to go to a HBCU once upon a time. My dad went to Morehouse, and I really wanted to go to Morehouse growing up. And then the better I got at sports, the more people kind of started laughing at that idea that I would go to Morehouse. And then, of course, everybody else laughed at it, so I let it go myself. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to go to Morehouse because that's beneath me, right? So now the idea of a black college being beneath anyone is out the window. And I love that. So, that's going to make everything more exciting, especially now that I know how the NCAA works. You see, immediately once players start making their own demands, NCAA was switching up everything real quick. Oh, yeah, we switched this. We switched. The thing I got suspended for in college 10 years ago is now illegal, right? What I did 10 years ago would not be illegal. I would have, nothing would have happened. So now you think about, like, in retrospect, what were they really doing for 80 years?
What they really were doing was taking money, making sure that trying to keep players in line and take money to add to their institution and make sure that money wasn't going into the athlete's pocket. And really, when the athletes,
all about the bottom line.
Yeah.
You see right now,
so
what's happening. A lot of these schools a lot of these athletic programs are getting disbanded because they ain't making no money. Everybody's revenue was based off the basketball and football. And so a lot of these athletic departments are being disbanded now because of that system that was going off of two programs. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Before we come to a close, man, I have this question to ask. What advice would you give professional athletes who has a platform to speak on social justice issues? What would you tell them? What advice would you give them in regards to this, knowing the social issues, social issue and the injustice that's going on in the country today, and that they have the platform to use? And it's not like it was in the 1960s, where if you say something that we oust you out the league, we don't want to hear from you. Now you have your own, the social media, you have your platform to just go ahead and say what you want, say how you feel, and how do you really feel about that?
Well, man, before, I was one of those guys that was very careful about the things that I said, because I know the powers that be really don't like black brothers speaking up for themselves and speaking up about anything other than sports, right? So I was trying to be careful before, but now in recent light of things, ain't no more careful, right? Ain't no more, like Nip say, you gotta live dangerous, right? No more stay safe, just live dangerous, because now it's starting to be proven that we're not who they thought we were, right? We're not buffoons, we're not thugs, we're actually people with brains and voices, and we want to speak up about stuff, and we care about other people. So now it's being seen. You can see. Obviously, it's been evident by the response, right? By the rebuttal. People speaking
correct
against people really doing here. So my advice to upper speaking. I don't say disrespect to anybody. Speak your mind. Speak what's on your soul, because we got a lot to say. Like me, I'm just not getting started. We got a lot to say. We got a platform. We're gonna reach a lot of people, because I know a lot of people who feel like me, a lot of people who feel like other guys around the league. So I'm excited about this time now, because you see Manuel show these players there platforms now. I'm excited.
Wes, can you hear me, Wes? Because I think you. Yeah, it's just going in and out a little bit. Sorry about that, but yeah, no. I just think the information that you're saying is just so important with players having the opportunity to really speak their truth, if you know what I mean.
I don't think you can hear me.
Can you hear me? I can hear you a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes,
How about now?
yeah, I'm good. I can hear you now.
Rally difficulties, man. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Man, Teddy Riley, hey, it's crazy when you start saying I mean, the whole conversation is great, but then you start saying some real important stuff, and then Instagram went up, jigga, 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 you know.
You see how it happened, right? You see how it happened. Can you hear me now?
I mean, I hear you clear now. Go back to say what you got. We got 3 minutes on here.
I don't even know what I was saying. I don't even know what I was saying, but
You were just saying that players have the opportunity now to speak their truth, and
oh
it's
yeah,
different than what it was back in the days.
there you go. And you're gonna see a lot more of it now too, because it's a lot of pent up frustration, and I'm more power to them, man. But you're gonna see a lot more. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, and you're gonna see a
Yeah,
lot of pushback. And I don't want that to deter anybody. I want everybody to stay strong. This is a
yeah,
time for us to come together. I done let my ego go a long time ago. So now I'm one of the guys that I reach my hand out to all my brothers. Anybody, especially if you look like me and you're trying to get down and do business and create a nationhood and create a structure of wealth for our people in the world, globally and in this country, man, like this is what it's about. Now is the time, man. We got the technology to do it. We got the voice to do it, man. We got the wherewithal. So this is what we need to be doing and focusing on.
absolutely. And I totally agree with you on that. And like I gotta say, man, I really truly appreciate you taking the time to be on here, man.
Yeah.
You gave us a lot of good knowledge, lot of good advice, and you gave us the history, like understand the history of where you come from, where we are right now, and where we're trying to go. And I just I couldn't be more excited with this interview.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on, man. We can go on every day if you want to, man, because we got a lot to talk about. We can talk about the DNC. We can talk about the deep state. We can talk about all this stuff, man, because I know, there's a lot of people that want to voice their opinions about what's going on, don't know how, don't know who to talk to, what to talk
Absolutely.
about. Oh, yeah. So now I see some people join in. You see you got some random people joining in when you start talking about some real stuff. You start saying
Yeah.
words DNC. You start talking about saying stuff like Soros
Yeah.
and state funded. Now people start tuning in and be like, what is he saying? What is he
What
talking
he's
about?
saying.
You gotta be
Look,
real
man.
careful with
Look,
this.
we gonna have to get you on another episode, man, because we only have a limited time here. We got 30 seconds left. But
Yeah.
look, like I would like to say, man, thank you so much for giving your time, your energy to being on our podcast, Life After Sports podcast today. Look, man, I gotta get you one of these shirts, man. You and Media. I'm getting y'all one of these shirts,
Yeah,
my
yeah,
brother.
yeah. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with it, man. You sharp, baby. Appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate it, man. You have a good night. And look, man, I appreciate you, man. Danelle LB said, man, he on it. So, man, look, man,
Hey,
that was good. That was good.
Hamlet in the building, Richmond County finest, boy. What up, D?
All right, man, be easy.